Life is truly like a video game. You can decide, just like this, to change your whole reality. It's super powerful when you're able to just click a button and be in a new country the next day. This was all so foreign to me just a few years back, until I made my first trip over to Hawaii. That was about 2021. But the trip that sticks in my mind the most is when I went to Greece, which was this past summer. This was the first time I chose to just go completely solo, no one with me, visiting nobody that I knew. Something in my gut was just telling me to go to Greece. So I booked a one-way ticket, clicked the button. My mind was telling me no at the same time. You have so much to do, you have clients to work with, you have this and that. But at the end of the day, those were all excuses. And while I'm on this trip, I remember having this moment. I drop off my bags on the island of Milos, and I sit on the couch in this Airbnb, and I think to myself, what the f am I doing? This is life. Life can change completely in a snap of a finger. I'm driving the ATV rental that I had around this island. I truly thought I was in a video game. I could do whatever I want. I could drive wherever I want. I was alone. I didn't have anyone telling me what to do. I was just out there. And it was a beautiful feeling. I felt in tune with my intuition even deeper. And this is the power of solo travel. You can change your reality just like this. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alex. I'm massive on healthy living, self-development, becoming the best version of myself, learning what I learn, and helping you become the best version of yourself through healthy habits, through self-development, through the different practices that I learn along the way of my journey. That being said, we are getting into the power of travel. Now, while I just turned 25, I have done a lot of traveling in the past, and I've really gotten to feel what it's like to solo travel, what it's like to live in a different country for 2 months. So I've done a bunch of different places, some in the US, California, Austin, Texas, Florida, and then you have your places like Colombia, Costa Rica, Greece. So needless to say, I do know what I'm talking about here, and I've done all of this while working a remote job, and more recently, working in my business. Now, to get into phase number 1, it's taking the leap. A lot of times your mind will tell you, no, you can't do this. You don't have the money to do this. You don't have the time to do this. You work a remote job. Your boss is gonna fire you if you go away. I had all of these beliefs coming up in my mind. I have clients to work with, this and that. At the end of the day, those were just excuses because in reality, I was scared. I'm going to a new country alone. I don't know how to speak Greek. What am I gonna do over there? I don't have anyone to comfort me. I don't have anyone to be there with me. I'm gonna be away from home. All of these are excuses that make us run away from our dreams, our goals. It's that little voice in the back of your head telling you can't do it. And yes, that goes for travel because this is a form of self-development. Not to get on too much of a tangent, but with phase number 1, it's taking the leap, and that means to let your body do the action and then think after. And when I say that, what I mean is book the flight and figure the rest out after. That is exactly what I did. I didn't even know what I was doing until I arrived in Greece, which is probably not the way to do it, but it all worked out. I figured everything out as I went. So first book the ticket, then think later. That leap that you're taking to go to a new place in the world, that leap is strengthening that muscle of decision making. Now, a lot of us can get caught in that mental masturbation. We're always thinking, and then you think yourself to the ground to where you're like, well, I'm not gonna do it. But just like anything, that is a muscle that you train. So by you saying, you know what, doing a solo trip might be pretty cool, I'm gonna do it. You stick with your word, you book the ticket the next day, after a little bit of consideration, of course, and you just figure the rest out after. That is the best thing that has worked for me for just taking action, and I'll tell you this right now, I never ever regret it. And before I go on to the other phases, I know a lot of you will probably be saying, well, this guy can afford it, or this guy is able to go travel and he's probably got a different circumstance than I do. I was that person thinking the same stuff many years ago. Watching those travel vloggers, watching different people travel all over the world. Well, how am I gonna do that? How are these people even doing that? It's not as hard as you think. First of all, you have to set your priorities. For example, if you're spending your money at the bar every weekend, you're putting your money into places that are not really benefiting you. What if you just saved up some money for a little bit, knowing that this money that I'm setting aside is for that solo travel trip that I'm doing? You'd probably be able to get it done. Phase number 2, if you're stuck in life, go on a trip. That is a huge one for me. Every time I have traveled, I've come back a different person in some way. Every trip that I've been on, I've come back with something. So whether that be a little increase in my intuition, or strengthened that muscle of decision making, or learned how to take more responsibility for my life, and I've leveled up in some way. And the theme of this video, this is like a video game, and you have the power to level up in whatever way you want. If you want to become incredible at decision making, you have to do those practices that are going to help you with that. If you want to learn to listen to your intuition more, you got to meditate more so you can listen more. Life is a video game, and the way that you spend your time will dictate how you level up. So I'm spending my time meditating for 20 minutes instead of scrolling Instagram. I'm going to strengthen the muscle of listening to my intuition rather than just staying flatlined when I'm scrolling Instagram. And with all that being said, travel is one of the best ways to come back after your trip leveled up as a person. Another point is the comfort zone is the killer. Every time I've wanted to stay in my comfort zone, it's nice, it feels good, but I don't level up in any way. I kind of just stay where I am. But when I booked that ticket to Greece and I was there for 2 months, my life was all over the place. I had to switch up my routine. I had to really adapt to every place I was going. I would go on a boat for 12 hours. I'd get off this boat at a random island, and I had no clue what I was doing. I would just get off the boat and have to figure it out. That leveled me up in so many ways that I cannot even explain. And that could be you, just by taking that leap. Another point there is the more often we move past our fears, the smaller they become. So to put it simply, the more often you move past that fear that you had, the higher up the goalpost gets. So this is your goalpost right now. Your fears lie right here. Then you face your fears. That goalpost moves up. That means you level up as well. So that is the power of travel. The more you move past your fears with being alone and traveling, the more you level up. And also, just on a side note, solo travel is so powerful. Like I'd be at this random Greek taverna eating alone, and then I would just spark up conversation with like the owner of the restaurant who could speak a little bit of English, and I would just start learning about who he was. I just would think about it. I'm talking to another human across the world that I would not have talked to if I didn't book that ticket. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like I'm 24 years old out here. I'm young, I'm healthy. I'm having these conversations with these people I don't even know, and I'm learning so much from them, and I know I'm gonna look back on these moments and I'm gonna think to myself, wow, I took that leap and I had the trip of a lifetime. So phase number 3 is the downsides and the upsides of travel. And by the way, those downsides always equate to upside in the end. They just don't feel like it at the time. The benefits of solo travel: you do what you want when you want. You don't have anyone telling you, I want to do this, I want to do that. You wake up and you craft out your day. You do exactly what you want to do. That is very powerful if you're someone who likes to explore different areas, or if you're like myself, someone that likes to move, work out, do all this stuff. Like I love my alone time. I love working out. I love doing all these things, and it's super powerful to be alone because you can just do all that stuff all day whenever you want. The next benefit, you create a deeper bond with yourself. Now, when I'm traveling, I've noticed myself becoming even more comfortable with being by myself. Now, I'd be on this island called Kefalonia, and in Kefalonia, I had this cottage that looked over the Mediterranean. I remember waking up every morning, going on the grass, getting barefoot, of course, grounding, and I'd be looking at the island of Zakynthos, and I would just think to myself, this is my life? This is insane. And I would just feel so grateful. Even being out there alone, I just felt so much gratitude, and even though I couldn't share it with anybody, just knowing that I would have those memories in my mind for the rest of my life, it was just a beautiful feeling. Another benefit, like I said before, you learn to listen to your intuition more. Myself being someone who has their own business, it's very important to be able to listen to your intuition, and that goes hand in hand with your gut. My gut has told me things in the past that sometimes I'd go against, and it turned out every time that my gut was correct. So I've learned over time that traveling, solo traveling in specific, helps me to listen to my intuition more, because I have to know, can I trust this person? Should I go to this place? Should I talk to this person? You learn to listen to that inner voice more the more you solo travel. Another benefit, it puts you in moments that you wouldn't be in if you didn't go out there. I choose to be in the location I am in right now, and I am in a grind phase of my life, so I'm not seeing as many new faces. But I could snap my fingers tomorrow, book a ticket, leave the next day, go to Europe, and have experiences that I would not have had if I stayed here. If you know what I'm saying, that's a very powerful thing, knowing that if you left tomorrow to a new place, you would have completely different experiences within a couple hours. And then the last one, for the ego, it makes you a more interesting person. So if I'm going on a date and I'm showing up as this person that's well-traveled, that has had all these experiences, I'm gonna be looked at as more of an interesting person. Oh, this guy is just going on solo trips to Greece and staying on this island all alone for 2 weeks and doing this and that. There's so many different stories you have to tell. Not only your potential partner one day, but also your grandchildren. You just become so well-versed in different topics the more you travel. And then of course, like anything, there's always a downside. There are downsides with solo travel. A lot of loneliness. I'd be on these different islands. I went to Milos, I went to Kefalonia, I went to Crete. All these places I was having a ton of fun, but there were times when I'd be like driving or walking or whatever in my bed at night and I'd just be like, this is very fucking lonely. Like I would get very lonely. In the end, I knew that those were just waves. It all comes in waves. If you're a human and you're alone for a long period of time, you're gonna feel that. It's normal. But it's all about pushing past that, not pulling up your phone when you get lonely. That's a big one. If you really wanna use solo travel as a tool to grow, when you get uncomfortable, do not pull out your phone. The only thing you should be doing is feeling into that feeling. And then, you know, the simple ones can be a little bit dangerous to solo travel, and maybe not in the ways that you think. There were moments where I was like, oh my God, this is not good. I am out here alone, and I just smashed my face on coral reef, stepped on a sea urchin, and chipped my tooth. All in 2 days. That actually happened on the island of Naxos, which there's video of that. I documented everything. That was a very difficult time for me because I busted my face. I had to go to the hospital. I had sea urchin spikes in my foot. It was not a good time, but I looked at it as like a test. I was being tested. In the end, I was alone and I learned how to go through that. I learned how to take action. I didn't have anyone to be like, oh, we'll take you to the hospital. We'll do this, we'll do that. I was like, I'm alone in a foreign country. I have to figure this out myself. That was super difficult, but it helped me grow in massive ways. So all of these downsides, as you can tell, they always equate to upsides in the end. That is how it always goes. Phase number 4, time away from the normal routine. It's extremely powerful to get out of your normal routine. I'm a person that loves routine. I like waking up at 5:30. I like going to the gym at this time. I like starting my work and working for the rest of the day until this time. And then when that gets shaken up, oh my God, I get out of whack for a couple days. But the main thing I've noticed, and this is coming from someone who absolutely loves routine, the body and the mind adapt very well. What I mean by that is I would go to a new place. I would be so stressed out with work, all this different stuff. And then I would get to this new place. And after a week, I would already be settled in a new routine. So don't let that scare you off from solo travel. Don't let that scare you off from travel in general if you have a ton of stuff going on in your life. It's never gonna be the perfect time. You just have to take action and do it. And just know, by you wanting to stay in your routine and by you being that person that's like, oh, I don't wanna go out at night and I don't wanna do this and I don't wanna go experience this because I have stuff going on. You're cutting yourself off from a beautiful reality you might be able to live, but you just want to stay in your routine so bad that you just get cut off from that. When I was in Costa Rica just a few months ago, there was a moment where I met some other travelers, people that were from Argentina, and they drank, they enjoyed drinking, they all wanted to go out, I wanted to go out as well. It was a weekday, it was 11 p.m., and I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna go out, why not? Why would I cut myself off from experiencing that? Because I have to wake up at 5. Just remember this, another form of self-development is getting out of your comfort zone and going out at night at 11 p.m. when you should be going to bed. Self-development goes much deeper than being on your computer inside your room. And then phase number 4, experiencing new cultures to open up new neural pathways in the brain. Our brains, our minds are extremely powerful. So when you travel to a new place, when you go a new route to work, when you go on that plane and you end up in a new country, your mind starts to build new neural pathways. This has been proven. So you literally become smarter the more you travel, and your mind expands the more you travel. Now you've probably felt this, but this goes much deeper than you think. Just by changing your scenery, the neuroplasticity in your brain gets maximized. So that is an extremely powerful thing. You are building your neuroplasticity by going to new places. There's this thing called dendrites. These are bridge-like extensions that grow from brain neurons and transmit information from one part of the brain to another. The more dendrites you have, the stronger and more capable your brain will be. And according to the neuroscientist Paul Nussbaum, there is a link between dendrite growth and new experiences or travel. When you travel, your daily routine goes by the wayside. This change forces your brain to process new information, which leads to dendrite production. But here's the best part. Even when traveling doesn't go your way, you miss your train, you lose your wallet, you get lost, you still generate dendrites. In fact, these moments of inconvenience are often the moments that generate the most dendrites. That means that getting lost in the city is not a waste of time. You're actually building new dendrites in your brain. Therefore, you're getting smarter and your mind is expanding. So with all that, you're improving your cognitive functions such as memory, attention, and problem solving. So those were the 5 phases of solo travel. I've done quite a bit of solo traveling in my life and I am not even close to finished. It is one of the best forms of self-development. It's just getting into a new country by yourself and just figuring it out. You just figure it out. Imagine you growing older, telling your grandchildren the experiences that you had. You might even meet your future wife or husband, whatever that is for you. And let me just leave you with this. The first time I had solo traveled, I was working for a company that was fully remote. What I did was I asked the company, hey, I'm thinking about going to Hawaii for a month. None of my hours will change. I will keep the same hours, the same work ethic. And I really just talked to my manager and told him, hey, nothing's gonna change. I'm just going to a new location for a little bit. And they were fine with that. I did have to wake up at like 4 a.m. and start work at like 4:30, but I'd be done by 1 p.m. And then I would have the rest of the day to go surf, to go hike, and experience Hawaii, all while I was working this remote job. So here I was thinking before, how are these people traveling? How are they doing this? All I had to do was tell my manager, hey, I want to go to Hawaii for a month. Is that okay with the company? It was, and then I just went. And that was how I was making money while I was traveling. So then I did the Costa Rica trip, and the Costa Rica trip, I was working a job, software sales. And that is one of the best jobs for a digital nomad in my opinion, because you really do stuff on your own hours. If you can find a tech company, software sales or anything like that, and be like an SDR or BDR, that's a very powerful position to look for. So with all that being said, this was the power of travel, solo travel in specific. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions regarding travel or health or really anything, let me know in the comments below. Happy to chat. But other than that, I will see you next week for another one. Until then, keep crushing it, keep enjoying life, and remember, all it takes is the click of a button. I'll see you in the next one.